Hey everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. Did you know that March is Ladder Safety Month? Well, it is. And it's a topic that I really like to talk about. Ladder safety's been one of those topics that I think has been one of my hot button topics for many, many years. And I think it goes back to personal experience for me. But it's probably fair to say that in our workplace, the ladder, especially the step ladder, is probably the most dangerous piece of equipment that we have. And I would argue that in our garages at home, that a step ladder is probably the most dangerous piece of equipment. When I look back to my early experiences, when I was about 19, I got a job part-time washing windows on residential homes. And my safety training was incredibly limited by the person I worked for. Thank God I had a little bit of common sense, but that didn't prevent me from falling several times. I remember my first fall was cleaning the inside of a skylight on a brown tile floor, the kind of tiles you find in a restaurant kitchen. I had a 16-foot extension ladder and I was up inside the skylight cleaning the skylight. I actually had the right slope on the ladder, but the rubber feet did not have enough friction on the floor. And at one point, the ladder kicked out at the bottom and fell. And I fell straddling the ladder with my hands and my feet out. I think I probably fell about 12 feet. And I got up and I shook it off and walked away and I felt invincible. And I got really lucky there. There were other incidents while I was performing that job that were very comparable or similar. And many situations where I probably could have died being 20 feet up on an extension ladder. Another experience I had was about 15 years ago, and I believe I was actually a CSP already, but I was selling a boat and I was getting it cleaned up for somebody to come take a look at it. And I had a 6-foot step ladder in this case. And the mistake that I made was I set the step ladder parallel to the boat so I could get up and clean the leaves off of it and make it look as pretty as I could for the potential buyer. And because the legs were not perpendicular, and the ladder maybe wasn't on perfectly level ground, as I climbed up the ladder, it was a 6-foot step ladder, the front right leg took a step on me and I reached out and grabbed the rail on the boat. And as I did so, I popped this tendon for my bicep right here on my arm, probably the most painful injury I've ever had in my life. It took about 8 months to heal. Anytime you tear a tendon, it takes a long time. So it takes very, very little. And I think when we look at fall related statistics, you'll find that falls from step ladders probably account for more fatalities than any other form of fall. Now, when we look at a step ladder, I think it's probably pretty easy to say that we see them misused very often. People tend to lean them up against something, or they're standing on the very top, either the top rung of the ladder, or the top step, or the very top of the ladder. We've seen it all. I know that. And again, it's a very misused piece of equipment. It's extremely dangerous if it's not used properly. Now, there are a lot of new innovations in ladders. There are step ladders that are designed and approved to be used as a leaning ladder. So it's important to look at the manufacturer and see what their requirements are. Another thing too is if you look at a step ladder, there are more warning labels on a step ladder than any other piece of equipment you'll ever buy. When it comes to extension ladders, it's really important. And here's another misuse. Now, ladders themselves are not inherently dangerous. It's when a human starts to use the ladder, it becomes a problem because we tend to misuse them. With an extension ladder, ideally finding even, level, and firm ground for the base of the ladder is important. If possible, we should secure the base with something and ideally secure the top of it. If we're using that ladder to access the next level, we should have at least 3 rungs of the ladder above whatever that level is, a gutter line, a deck line on another deck, whatever it might be. And then as a rule of thumb, if you stand on the base of an extension ladder and you reach out with your arms, you should be able to grab the rails, the side rails of the ladder. That indicates that you have the right slope. If the ladder is too steep, you risk falling backwards. If the ladder has too much of a slope to it, there's a likelihood that the bottom could kick out. So just a couple tips that we probably know, but since it's Ladder Safety Month, make sure to maybe run a toolbox meeting concerning ladders, talk about it with your craft. And when you see misuse, point it out. And I would say, don't point it out in a manner where you come up and you confront somebody, but make sure to educate them, because the reality is that people don't understand how dangerous ladders can be. And if they use them and misuse them multiple times and nothing bad happens, they become very desensitized to the hazard. So let's do our part. Let's make March Ladder Safety Month, and we'll see you next Wednesday.